In the last video we looked at the background and the work ahead, had a traction engine delivered and created a drawing. In this video we will be looking at the patterns and parts now in hand. However, we now have a second engine on this project. This one is externally a bit tired but mechanically sound. This was steam tested and proves to run very nicely. The start was then made on patterns. First off, the dummy cylinder casing. This is designed to bolt onto the smokebox casting flange and includes a dummy safety valve on top of the steam chest cover. The whole assembly lifts off, allowing access to the Walesco safety valve itself for boiler filling. Not having a CAD program or 3D printer to make patterns, I've used plasticard for the bulk of the patterns. Full-size engines would have patterns made from wood, so not so dissimilar, as is a versatile material. These patterns will go into a mould to produce a lost wax master for casting the finished items in brass. Other patterns made were for the handbrake assembly. This bolts onto the tender side and will also use a steering wheel casting for the handbrake wheel. Along with this was also made a set of winch roller guides, and these are designed to bolt onto the side of the tender. Along with this was the motion guard side plate. One of the biggest patterns started was for the belly tank. This is 130mm wide by 35mm square on the ends, with a radius cut out to fit underneath the boiler. This will be again turned into a brass master. The infill sections on the belly tank were then covered in a filler and then sanded back so they were flush. The base was then made with stiffening ribs, which also will allow for these to be bolted through to secure the bottom of the tank in place. Having had a number of castings arrive, it was now a case of starting to assemble the smoke box. One of the first jobs to do was to drill out the chimney base. This was then put in the lathe and turned down, boring out the inside of the smoke box so that the spare boiler would slide inside neatly. The whole assembly was then mounted onto perch bracket so that we could then set this up how it would look as a finished item. This will all be covered in a further video shortly. A couple of sets of mammoth wheels were required, including the front axle assembly. These will all be stripped down. The wheels will be bored out to accept a Walesko axle. The rims from the Walesko wheels will be stripped off and mounted on the outside of the mammoth wheels to give a rather nice looking set of rear wheels. So that pretty well concludes this episode. As you can see, we've now acquired a number of castings. There's the steering wheel, brake wheels, smoke box assemblies, seat assemblies, axle hubs, along with the patterns which are yet to go into moulds. The pattern for the belly tank will be continued in the next episode, along with a few other patterns. So don't forget to subscribe and follow this project.